exhibits, the first supplement responses, Mr. And if I may share my screen, Your Honor.
You may. Okay, we're going back on the record on cause number DC 1717249, Elizabeth Martinez versus El Pasano Northwest. We're in day 2 of trial. We're continuing the cross-examination of the plaintiff, Elizabeth Martinez. Mr. Payman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Following up on the issue, my share screen is still disabled, Your Honor.
Oh, let me do that. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Raphael, this is the page, this is the document, unhighlighted one, and it has base stamp 524. And if you look at the top, it says exhibits FS respond, and the date on them was, I believe, 9/20 of 2019. They're producing response to disclosure where you produce the medical records. Now, you produce them 3 different ways, but this is one that I got. Are we good?
All right.
Your Honor, in that, may I introduce exhibit number 18, which is that portion that I believe has been confirmed by counsel that it was produced.
Any objection, defendant 18.
Let me look at every page just to make sure, Your Honor.
Sure.
Is it on exhibit 18?
Yes. Good morning, Ms. Martinez.
Did he say he didn't object?
I'm waiting, so I just said good morning to Ms. Martinez, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I'm still looking through the file, Your Honor. Hold on. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Let me just. Well, I don't know where those last pages on that exhibit are coming from, Your Honor. It's not in order.
Your Honor, let me show it again. This is the documents that are produced to us, and they have the base stamp 524, sir. Do you see that? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me share my screen. These are the documents you produced, Exhibit FS, Respond RFD Martinez. And this is one of the documents that was there. And it's right between the medical records of Dr. Twinkle, and it's base stamped 524, 525, 526, 527, 528, 529, 530, 531, 532, 533. I believe that's, I don't know if that's, but I'm interested in 524 to 533.
Okay.
And if those are, as he's saying, I mean, I can't do it one at a time, but then no objection, Your Honor, having it in if it's how it is in order as he's stating, Your Honor.
Well, ma'am, I'm showing you the response that you, the documents that you produce.
No, but
Mr. Payman,
Over the base stamp.
Yes, sir. May I
Exhibit
proceed?
18 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Martinez. Do you mind pulling the camera down a little bit? I can see your face just up to your mouth line. If you just, yeah, there you go. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Let me go through some of the documents that were contained in Dr. I think Twinkle's records that were produced to me by your attorney. Now, you remember we spoke earlier, latter part of yesterday, about a stroke where you went to Baylor Grapevine for that treatment, and you said you don't recall that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember it now?
I don't recall that, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to show you, if I may share my screen.
May.
Ms. Martinez, can you see what I've got up here?
The document, yes.
Pardon me?
The document, yes.
Yes.
I see it.
And this is from Dr. Aziz Abdur Rahim. I think he's an ophthalmologist.
Yes,
And it's dated January 31, 2019. Do you see that?
yes, sir. I see that.
Okay, and it says reason for visit, new referral, vision loss, OU. I don't know what OU means, but I'm just reading the portions that I can see. Do you see that, ma'am?
I see that.
And it says secondary diabetes type 2 with ocular complications, not insulin dependent. Correct?
I see that.
And do you see where my pointer is? It says she denies double vision or frequent headaches. She's had diabetic laser OU by Dr. Solly in 2018. She reports being a type 2 diabetic with stable, I guess BS stands for blood sugar, but I'm not testifying to that. Do you see that?
I see what you're reading.
Okay. Again, this is Exhibit 18. And the primary issue is vision loss, OU. Again, the same thing, type 2 with ocular complications. Correct? Did I read that
That's
correctly?
what you're reading.
Okay. If I go to the next page, I can't make out these diagrams, so I'm not going to go over them. But this is from the Texas Institute of Orthopedic Surgery to Dr. Mint's office. If you look at this fax number, 8699, I go back up here. Dr. Mint's fax is 8699. So this is what your employer sent to Dr. Ting on January the 3rd, 2019. Do you see that? Where it's highlighted.
Yes, on the document.
Yes, ma'am. And then let's look at number 3 that I've highlighted. It says, when did symptoms first appear or accident happen? Can you tell me what that date is that I've highlighted? Right.
The date on there?
Yeah, right here, right here. Right here.
5/29/18.
Okay, so the answer to when did this symptom first appear or accident happen, it says 5/29/18. Correct? Correct?
That's what you're reading on there. Yes, that's what it says.
That's what the document says. And then looking at here, it says number 8, is patient unable to perform job duties? Yes. And then what specific job duties is patient unable to perform? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that. Number 8 says, is patient unable to perform job duties? Yes. If yes, from when? It says 5/29/2018 to January 3rd, 2019. That's the time frame they've placed on your inability to perform your work because of what happened on 5/29. Can we agree on that? That's what it says.
That's what you're reading. Yes, sir.
That's what the record says. Is this your handwriting by any chance?
No.
Okay. All right. Number 13, it says, if patient is hospitalized, give name and address of hospital. And it says hospital is Baylor, City of Grapevine, Texas. Did I read that correctly, ma'am?
That says yes, sir.
And then it says date admitted 5/20 to 5/22/18. Correct?
That is on there, sir.
Now, and then if you go back to when we talked about the stroke, it was where you were hospitalized at Baylor Grapevine for this stroke between 5/20 and 5/22/18. Does that help you remember what the stroke I was talking about was?
I just don't recall having a stroke, though, sir. I mean, I don't recall them telling me I had a stroke.
Okay. You don't recall being at Baylor Grapevine for 2 days, 20, 21, 20, almost 3 days?
The objection asked and answered many a times yesterday.
Overruled, you can answer.
Not for a stroke, sir.
Do you recall being hospitalized in Baylor Grapevine from 5/20 to 5/22, 2018?
I don't recall, sir. I don't.
That's a fair answer. If you don't recall, you don't recall. I'm okay with that.
Well, I wasn't clear about her answer. Do you, ma'am, do you recall being hospitalized at all at Baylor Grapevine, or you just don't remember why you were hospitalized?
I don't recall being at the hospital, period, sir.
Okay.
Same document, ma'am. This appears to be an application for disability. Do you see that? Initial disability.
Yes, I see the document.
Is this your handwriting? Did you fill out the application?
Not my handwriting.
Pardon me?
That is not my handwriting.
All right. Okay, again, here it says, was this disability caused by an accident that occurred while performing duties of her employment? The answer is no. Do you see that?
Can you read that again? Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. The question that I've highlighted says, was this disability caused by an incident that occurred while performing the duties of her employment? And the box no is checked. Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay. Next one, it says symptoms first occurred on. What's that? The date that's filled in here?
12/19/18.
Okay. And then patient first consultant for this condition on the same date, correct?
Yeah, I see that.
And the doctor that's doing this is Dr. Wayne A. Solly of Texas Retina Associates. Am I correct? Did I read that
I
correctly?
see the name. Yes, I'm just confused with all this.
I know, because you don't remember a lot of stuff, so I gotta put the documents to establish what was done since you don't remember. And then it says first date of disability, December 19, 2018. Did I read that correctly?
That's a date on there. I mean, I'm just confused where I'm trying to understand all this. I mean,
I understand you, and you don't recall a lot of stuff. So like I said, I have to show you the documents. Hopefully they'll refresh your recollection. If they don't, the documents will speak for themselves and the judge can look at the documents. Okay?
okay.
And then it is signed by the physician's signature on January 10, 2019. Do you see that?
I see the date.
Okay. And do you see what appears to be a signature?
Yes.
Did you apply for Social Security disability based on this application? Or you don't
The
recall?
documents there.
I mean, do you recall doing that? Do you recall applying for disability based on for December 19th,
something that was recommended by my doctor. I mean, obviously I did. I mean, if the document's there.
Yeah. And did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So based on that application, you were given disability benefits.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to go real fast because I know we got to get a lot done this morning.
How much was the disability?
Hmm?
How much?
Do you know what your disability rating was by any chance?
No, sir.
Do you know how much you get for disability?
Off the top of my head, honestly, I don't.
Okay, so
It goes direct deposit. So I don't get a paper check.
that's fair, ma'am. If you don't remember, that's fair. I'm just going to finish off with Dr. Twinkle's, which is, I believe, Exhibit 7, Your Honor. Now, if you look at this document, this is the medical records that your attorney asked for from August 18, 2017, which is a day before the Friday, actually, of the event, right? Because you started on the 18th and it went to 19th in the morning, correct? The question is,
how is she going to testify to our medical record affidavits?
Question.
no, okay, let me do it backwards. The Friday that you went with your daughters to the mall and then to Players and then to
Mr. Payment, we've already established all this, when this happened, so you don't need to go through it again.
So this is this a picture of you, ma'am? This is Dr. Mint's medical records.
That's my picture.
That's your picture. And Dr. Mint has listed as your problem lists everything we went through, seizure, post-traumatic, trauma, everything that we went through before, and neck pain, correct?
Yeah, you went through all that.
Yes, ma'am. Then again, she talks about your diabetes, and then she comes here and she notes acute alcohol intoxication. Do you know why she would put that there?
I don't know. I mean, no, sir.
Okay. Now, this one, the health maintenance, talks about the maintenance, but then it talks about your problem lists. And it has them dated by when something's happened. And I'm not concerned about your diabetes or your macular edema of these dates, but I'm concerned about this one, seizures post-traumatic. Do you see that, ma'am?
Yeah, I guess I read that.
What's the date next to it?
7/25/17.
That's about a month before our incident at El Paisano, correct?
I guess. I mean,
Well, August is month 8. This is month 7. So this is a month before El Paisano, correct?
okay.
And then you come down here, subdural hemorrhage, and this is 12/9/2016. That's 10 months before our incident, correct?
Okay.
And then the next one is fracture of the
Yes.
pelvis, March 14, 2018. That's 5 months after our accident, correct? We already went through when you fell on ice and had the pelvic x-rays and all that stuff, but I just want to make sure that you see this, that Dr. Twinkle.
Objection, he's testifying.
I wasn't testifying.
You keep on doing this, Mr. Pema. You can ask her questions about the medical
Mhm.
records, but just reading her the medical records and asking if that's what they say is not appropriate. And if you keep doing it, I'm going to cut off your examination.
Did Dr. Twinkle report that you had a fracture of the pelvis in March of 2018?
I don't recall.
Judge, since I don't have a doctor, I can't ask the doctor, so I assume she's provided the information to the doctor. That's why I'm asking her if she recalls telling the
You
doctor.
can't just, but she's not a doctor. And you keep just asking her, is this what the medical record says? That's what it says. If you wanted to ask about diagnosis or analysis, you should have called the doctor.
I understand. All right. Okay. Your Honor, I would like to at this point introduce exhibit number 10. May I put it up or
Yeah, go ahead.
to see if it gets admitted or not? Your Honor, exhibit number 10, if I may describe it, is the incident report of the morning of the incident. The first 3 pages are the ones that we produce, that we have. And then what I did, just to back up my claim, the second 3 pages, which is the identical report, was produced by plaintiff's counsel in response to disclosure, and it has bait stamp 1113 on their record. So this was produced by the defendant, but I'm sorry, by the plaintiff.
Is it the same, is it the same thing? Or are they
Identical.
different?
Identical. I just wanted to show that it was also produced by him, the same report.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, we have to produce all evidence under RFDs, which we complied with. Defendants were caught on record lying, hiding it, witnesses. So they need to stop saying that's what we produce, because we're following the rules. And these police records, Your Honor, we do object to them being admitted because defense counsels had 3 years to call these officers or subpoena them to get their hearsay into the record. Same with Mr. Tovar, who was the person that the officers interviewed, supposedly, who Mr. Pema has been in contact with for 3 years. These are prejudicial, they're hearsay, and we object on the record strenuously for them being admitted.
Your Honor, under, if I may, under 803.8 and 803.6, police reports and reports like this are admissible unless the person opposing their introduction can show that they are unreliable. Now, if you go with what Mr. Rafael is saying, that this court will never accept another police report into evidence because they're not reliable. The rule says they come in unless Mr. Rafael can show that they're unreliable, can prove that they're unreliable. 803.
Exhibit 10 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. May I highlight it, Judge?
Sure.
Well, I don't think I can, but
Not while you're live.
no, I can. I want to ask you some questions, see if you remember any of these, and if the question is improper, I'm sure the judge will tell me to ask it differently. Ma'am, this police report, have you ever seen this police report before?
No,
Do you recall during your deposition, I handed it to you and asked you to read from it? If you don't remember, it's okay, say I don't remember.
no, I don't remember.
That's fine. The police report indicates, and tell me which part of it you agree with and which part of it you disagree with, or which part of it you don't know. It says on 8/19/2017, at approximately 3 a.m., reporting officers received a 6XA major disturbance call with an ambulance at the location of 2911 Lombardi. You don't know about that, do you?
I didn't know that there was a disturbance call, I mean.
Okay. And then it says, upon arrival, DFR, Dallas Fire Rescue, number 43 was leaving the scene with witness 2. And if I may just scroll up to identify who witness 2 is, Your Honor. It identifies you as Martinez, Elizabeth. Do you see that?
Yes,
Okay. So this report indicates that they were about to transfer you, leaving the scene with witness 2, Elizabeth Martinez, right? You remember being transported away? I think you already
Objection,
testified
Form.
that.
Oh,
Objection, he's testifying, Your Honor.
yeah, you are testifying. Let's just ask questions, okay?
Ms. Martinez, the report indicates that you were leaving the scene with an ambulance. Is that true? Were you leaving the scene with an ambulance?
I don't recall none of that.
You don't recall
But
being
like I said,
transported?
I was in and out of conscience, sir. I answered that yesterday. I was in and out of consciousness. I was knocked out, sir.
So you don't remember anything after you hit the ground at El Paisanos, correct?
Correct. I answered that yesterday, sir.
Just want to make sure. It says reporting officers spoke with reporting person and witness 1 who were working security at a listed location, who stated that witness 2 was highly intoxicated and became belligerent and aggressive towards restaurant staff. Do you remember that happening? You becoming, as stated here, aggressive towards the belligerent and aggressive towards the restaurant staff. Do you remember that, ma'am?
Your Honor, again, I'm going to object on the record to this being hearsay and unverified record that he's reading into this question.
Overruled.
Thank you. Do you remember that, ma'am?
There was no argument. I remember prior to that, nobody was being rude or nothing. We didn't have nothing going on prior to that.
Okay. Let's see the portions that it says reporting person stated that he tried to escort witness 2 off the premises. I'm sorry, I already read that. Reporting person stated that he, OC, sprayed witness 2, put her in handcuffs, then called the police. Do you remember being handcuffed?
No,
Okay. Reporting officer attempted to speak to witness 2, which is you. I'm sorry. Reporting officer attempted to speak with witness 2's 2 daughters. I believe that's Summer Rose and Monique, right? Your 2
I don't
daughters?
recall them.
No, your 2 daughters.
I have my 2 daughters were there with me.
Okay. And it says at the location to get their side of the story, and they would not talk to reporting officers and were uncooperative and began recording reporting officers, sticking their camera phones in reporting officers' face with the flash on. You don't know anything about that because that's not you, right?
I was out, sir. I don't know. I mean, I don't recall any of that.
That's fine. When reporting officers were leaving the call location and en route to Parkland Hospital to check on witness 2, DFR number 3 called for an
I think it's
officer.
DFR number 43.
Did I say, what did I say, Jay? I'm sorry.
You said number 3.
I'm sorry. DFR number 43 called for an officer assist stating that witness 2, that was you, had become combative with the paramedics and had jumped out of the ambulance at 2907 Harry Hines. Do you remember jumping out of the ambulance?
No, sir, I don't recall.
Reporting officers responded to DFR 43's location where witness 2 was not cooperating and stated she was not going anywhere. Do you remember telling that you're not going anywhere?
No, sir, I don't recall.
Due to witness 2's claiming injury and requesting to go to the hospital, being pepper sprayed, being highly intoxicated, and refusing to get back in the ambulance, reporting officers placed witness 2 in handcuffs for transport to Parkland Hospital. Do you recall being handcuffed and transferred to Parkland Hospital in a police car as stated in the report?
No, sir, I don't recall.
While en route to the hospital, witness 2 stated she had a fractured pelvis and needed medical attention. Do you remember telling the officers that you had a fractured pelvis, ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't recall it. I don't recall a lot of this.
Okay. It says reporting officers released witness 2 at Parkland Hospital to be treated for possible injury. Sergeant number 7771 notified of the field release. That's the end of the report. You don't remember which one? Okay. Mr. Chalaki just pointed something that I missed when I was reading. Do you see where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines? It says reporting person. Are you with me, ma'am? Where my mouse is?
Yeah, Christian, yes.
It says reporting person stated that he tried to escort witness 2 off the property when she became aggressive towards him, and witness 2 tried to strike the reporting person, which is, I believe, Mr. Tovar. Do you remember trying to strike Mr. Tovar?
Again, Your Honor, objection. Mr. Pemas had Mr. Tovar, and he could have deposed him for the past 3 years.
Judge, I'm just
How is this thing getting into the record as evidence if he never even verified it with Mr. Tovar?
Your Honor, this is something that I'm asking if she remembers trying to strike him. That's all I asked.
Yeah, that overruled.
Thank you, Judge. So you don't remember anything that happened from the time you hit the ground until you woke up at Parkland, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Okay.
I couldn't hear her overruled, but she could answer.
Correct. After I was slammed on the ground, I mean, like I said, I was in and out of consciousness and I was knocked out.
I think the
I
objection was.
blacked out, I mean.
I think the objection was to the previous question where I said, do you recall trying to strike Mr. Tovar? Your attorney objected, Judge overruled.
Oh, the next question. I object to both questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Raphael, your sound isn't working very well.
Oh, I said I objected to both. I objected to the reading of the where he talks about the RP saying Mr. Tovar is a witness that Mr. Pema has disclosed and never used to verify these records. And then the other question I objected to ask and answer. You overruled me on the first.
Overruled on both. But you've gotten an answer now, Mr. Pema. Let's move along.
Sure. All right. Ma'am, let me show your deposition transcript when I asked you the similar questions about what happened at the scene, which you now say you don't remember. You got your MR Civil Justice up again, Ori. So I look, Mr. Raphael, it would be starting on page 64. Let me start on bottom of page 63. It maybe makes more sense. My question was, but that was not my question. My question was what I just described to you and you affirmed. Is this something you remember because you remember it when it happened, or you remember it because you saw the video? Your answer was no, I don't remember.
She said, no, I do. She said, no, I do remember.
You're right. No, I do remember. Okay, but you could not reach because your hands were in handcuffs, correct? Right? You say correct. Question. And then what happened after? Because the video then ends shortly thereafter. What happened after? No, I'm sorry. At some point in the video, Tovar takes the handcuffs off of you when the police arrives. Your answer is right. Question. Do you remember that? Yes. Do you remember? Do you remember him taking the handcuffs off? Answer. I don't recall them taking them off, but I do remember after the handcuffs are off. Question. And then you start talking to the police because by that time Dallas PD arrived at the scene, correct? Right. Do you remember what happened then? The ambulance got there. Question. And let's talk about your conversation with Dallas PD, Dallas police officers. Okay. Your answer is okay. They did interview me, asked me what happened, told them the whole story, what happened. Question. So you were able to communicate with the officers and tell them your version of the events? Answer, yes. Question. Because by then, I guess you could breathe now a little better. Answer, struggling. Question. Struggling, but still able to tell them what happened. Answer, tell them what I could. So you personally spoke to the police officers? Answer, with trouble breathing, yes. And then what did the...
He's reading the entire deposition. Objection. He's reading the entire deposition.
Judge,
What is the question, Your Honor?
I'm
This
trying
is
to...
in the records.
I'm trying to impeach her because she just testified she doesn't remember anything from the time she hit the ground until she woke up at Parkland. I want to show that she went through a complete conversation with the police and the ambulance when I deposed her. So allow me to read because she does talk about talking to the ambulance people, talking to the police, telling her version, which is proper impeachment of...
And he's spent 3 hours showing records that she has memory loss. So reading this record isn't what's impeaching her. I mean, he's been doing this for hours in a sense, just playing gotcha games with 3-hour deposition here versus 3-hour testimony today, Your Honor.
Judge, when a witness doesn't tell the truth...
Objections overruled.
Thank you, Judge. Question, struggling, but still able to tell them what happened. Tell them what I could. So you personally spoke to the police officers? Answer, with trouble breathing, yes. And then what did the police officers do? They pulled Tovar and his partner and got their information and the ambulance got there. Question, so the ambulance arrives. Tell us what happened after the ambulance arrived. Did you tell them that you were injured? Yes. Well, they knew I was injured. They seen that I was laying on the concrete there. Question, the reason I ask is because usually when police officers walk up to a scene of a car accident or something, they say, are you okay? I assume they asked you that question. Answer, yes. And they seen I wasn't okay because they seen me struggling breathing there. So by the time the ambulance had arrived, yes. And tell us what happened next. They put me on the gurney. And they loaded me up. Into the ambulance, yes. But not in handcuffs, no. And they were going to transport you to, I think, Parkland. Right? Yes. So the ambulance leaves the scene. Did any of your daughters come with you? No. So what happened next? They stayed there still questioning my daughter. So they went back in the ambulance following. Then I asked on line 13, what happened next? I did not get no treatment for my breathing that I was still struggling. I kept requesting that to get, some kind of treatment. Line 17 question. Now, the way you described, the ambulance would have pulled up to door 2, close to door number 2, because that's where you were, right? Door number 1 is where they pulled me up to. Question. So they brought the gurney around. They put you on the gurney right outside door number 2. They carted you. Answer, no. They pulled up to door number 1, where the whole parking lot is at, where the whole parking lot's at. Question, right. That's where they pulled up. They pulled up over here. My question, but can you draw another circle for me where you landed on the ground? And I'm just going to bypass that for now, if I may, because that goes to the drawing. And then, and walked with me. So while you're still on the ground, he's kind of, I guess, using your shoulders or your arm to kind of wiggle you down around the corner.
Okay, Mr. Payman, at this point, I don't think this is at all responsive to what she was talking about before.
Well, she does say that she talked to the police, Judge. If I may just find out, I'll just go that. So the question was how, this is where she talks about, so there was a conversation. So there was a conversation. They just, I just told them I couldn't breathe and that was it. But I mean, I kept asking, I need, some oxygen because I could not breathe. Judge, this is where she jumped out of the ambulance. If I may just get to that.
Okay.
So after that conversation, they actually placed you on the gurney and pulled you or credited you to the ambulance, right? Yes. Question, what happened next? They take me towards the hospital and I'm asking the ambulance for oxygen or some kind of breathing treatment and I still get denied anything to get help me. Okay, then what happened? We're going down, I believe it's Webb Chapel, down that road, and I'm still not getting anything and they're talking and giggling. So the ambulance is driving? Yes. And do you think it's around Webb Chapel area? I believe it's Webb. Yeah, because we were at the light and I'm getting up off the stretcher and I'm asking them for help and they were not giving me any help, anything. So I'm getting up and trying to get out of the ambulance and they called the police and police pulled up. Let's go slow. So you got up from the stretcher because you can't breathe and you try to get out of the ambulance while the ambulance is moving. We're at the light. At a light, so question, or stopped at a light. Question, so the ambulance was stopped at a light and they prevented you from leaving. Answer, well, I ended up eventually opening the door to the back. And my question, and to get air. Did you jump out? Yes, I got out trying to get some air. We've got to go slower. So you finally managed to open the back of the door. Yes. And you exited the ambulance. I'm using the word exit because I'm going to let you describe it. Okay. Tell me how you exited the ambulance. Did you jump off? An ambulance is higher than a normal car, right? So how would you have described the way you got out of the ambulance? I jumped out of it. I didn't get assistance off, so I jumped myself off. So you did remember what happened when I took your deposition back in October of 2019, correct, ma'am?
Objection, Your Honor, he just read a lot. So what is he asked her?
I would draw that
Remember?
question. I think the court saw what was going on. Ma'am, I asked your daughter when I took her deposition in February.
I just to preserve for the record, Your Honor, I want to just preserve my objections, of course, to that last reading by Mr. Pema, as well as the use of the police report, and just for the record, a preservation of those objections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, when I took your daughter's deposition in February of this year, about 10 months ago, and I asked her if she knew you were working, she told me yes, that you were back at work and working a similar type of work like a medical office. Were you working in February or March of this year?
This year, no.
Stay with me. Need to look at some of my notes. In March of this year, were you working at 9101 North Central Expressway for a facility called Baylor Scott and White Park Lane Endocrinology, Dr. Emilia Meyer-Popa, MD, and Dr. Tho Nugent?
Of this year, yes, I was. I'm sorry.
So you were working this year, February, March.
February, March, yes.
And when did you get laid off from that job in 2020? That's right.
March 24th.
Was that right when the COVID-19 pandemic and everything got shut down?
I don't know when that was shut down.
When did you start working for them?
It was last year, late last year.
So October, November of last year until March 20 something of this year, correct?
Yes,
And you were doing the same type of work, being, I think you call it front lead, correct?
yes.
And just for the court's benefit, can you tell the court what front lead is? Just very short, briefly, if you can.
Making appointments, answering phones.
Insurance verification.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean,
basically, and that's
front office duties.
okay. And that's basically what your area of work has been for the past 15 to 20 years, right?
Yes,
So up until March of this year, before COVID hit, you were still employed doing the same thing.
yes.
Ms. Martinez, I know this has been difficult, and I do apologize to you if at times I seem like I'm being harsh, but I've got to do a job.
I mean, I was let go this year though because I couldn't fulfill my duties. I mean,
But
I
you worked
just
for
couldn't
five.
grasp-
But you worked for 5 months before you were let go.
Right. I couldn't just grasp my memory just couldn't fulfill everything I was supposed to be doing.
That's fine. And again, I was apologizing to you if at times I seem to be a little harsh on you, but I'm trying to understand what your claims are against my client. Now, I know you're not a doctor, so judge has already instructed me not to ask you medical questions. So you all enjoyed going to El Paisano, did you not?
Right. It was one of
Right.
our favorite places.
Is it because they had a really good tacos and Mexican food?
Their food was great. I mean, we had been going, like I said, 16, 18 years. And we'd go as a family. I mean, so
Since you can go to, since you haven't been to El Paisanos since August of 2017, do you go to a different place to eat now?
Mr. Payman, this is just
Where?
not relevant, and we got to get this over with. So let's move on.
If you give me 2 minutes,
Thank
Judge, I'll promise you it will be relevant. Just 2 minutes.
Your credibility is on the line here, Mr. Payman.
I understand, Judge. Do you ever go to LCI that's on Davis?
I'm sorry, where?
Do you ever go to LCI, the taco place on Davis Street in Oak Cliff?
Never heard of it.
Do you go to any other taco places to eat?
Yeah, sure we do.
Is their food better than El Paisanos?
There's other places, yes, that are better. I mean,
The new place is better?
there's other places that are better.
So their food tastes better than El Paisanos?
Yes, there are.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Martinez, what is your highest level of education?
My GED. My GED.
What's the highest level of school that you completed, though?
9th grade.
So after 9th grade, did you drop out of school?
I did.
Why did you drop out of school?
We traveled a lot. We did harvesting. I'm Native American, so we would harvest a lot. And we moved
I'm sorry,
a lot.
you said you're Native American?
Yes.
And where did you move around to?
We came down here to Texas, Arizona, California, Washington, Idaho.
And are you full-blooded Native American?
We are.
And so after you dropped out of school in 9th grade or after 9th grade, when did you get your GED? How many years later?
2 years. So I was.
How many years?
2 years later, I was advanced classes. So, I mean, I graduated early.
You didn't technically graduate. You received your GED,
I
right?
got my GED. Yes, sir.
Now, have you ever received any professional medical training?
No, sir.
In your time working for medical offices, did you ever write medical records?
No, sir.
So as Mr. Payne was asking, your job as a front clerk or a front desk person was just to request records and answer the phones. Anything else?
Just answer phones, take notes, schedule appointments.
Did you ever write your own medical records?
No, sir.
Now, is this the second time you've given testimony under oath?
Second time under oath.
Let me rephrase. I feel like my question could be confusing. Other than the times that Mr. Pema has questioned you, have you ever been deposed before?
The deposed, I've only done it one time with him when he was screaming and yelling.
So the first time he deposed you and this time are the only two times you've ever given testimony under oath, correct?
Correct.
And in the 6 hours or so of testimony you've given to Mr. Pema, did he confuse you?
Very much so.
Now, you were informed 2 days ago that Mr. Pema had someone following you for the past week. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did that make you feel, knowing someone was following you for the past week?
I was intimidated. I don't know why, though. I would be followed.
If I told
It's
you
very
because
intimidating.
sorry.
Mr. Payment, did you have her followed the last week? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Your answer is yes, sir. We had somebody follow her on Saturday and Sunday, and on Monday, I forwarded the copy to Mr. Raphael. They have not been admitted, but they've been shared with the opposing counsel.
Okay. Go ahead.
Does it make you feel also that that person went to one of your daughter's houses?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So how did it make you feel knowing that that person also went to one of your daughter's houses?
It's intimidating. I don't understand the reason for that. Why? I mean, it's very, very intimidating.
I understand. Just a few more questions. If you received your, scratch that. As Mr. Pema showed in your records, Defense Exhibit 18, you were put on disability, correct?
Yes.
So why did you go back to work?
Financially, I just couldn't afford to be off work. I needed money. I needed to survive.
You wanted to go back. Understand. And in those, let me, if I may share my screen, Your Honor. I'm almost finished. And these are from those records that Mr. Pema showed. What were the two reasons that you were given disability for?
It was for vision and memory loss.
And Mr. Pema didn't ask you about the memory loss when it came to your disability, correct?
Correct.
So I know this is stressful, Ms. Martinez, and you've given, like I said, over almost 6 hours of testimony to Mr. Pema. And he went over all of your records in detail. Did any of your records, do you recall, show prior to August 2017 that you suffered from memory loss?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
Do you recall that any of the records that Mr. Pema showed to the court said that you suffered memory loss prior to 2017, August of 2017?
No.
Your Honor, I was mute. I was going to object because no records of prior medical conditions had been provided. So that's why I could not do
Your
it.
Honor, records have been provided. Mr. Pema went over plenty of diagnoses before the incident that took place, and Mr. Pema has had also plenty of opportunities to request extra records.
Objections overruled. May proceed.
So the last question, Ms. Martinez, prior to this incident on August 18th, 2017, did you ever suffer memory loss?
No.
Ask the witness, Your Honor.
We reserve the rest of our questions if we need to call her back on our case in chief, but at this time, nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, call your next witness.
Okay, I need to get them prepared, Your Honor, to get on Zoom. Can I have a 5-minute break just to do that?
Sure,
Thank you, Your Honor.
we'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.